The other day, I was walking through the jungle with my best friend, and we were having a conversation about a lot of different topics. At one point, he asked me if I knew what my values were, and I got excited when he asked me this question because I'm pretty clear on what my values are, and I actually have them written down in my phone. So I pulled out my phone, I read out my values to him, and he was a little surprised by the fact that I had them written down. I could tell that he was starting to make a connection in his own life, and he realized that he actually hadn't sat down himself to iron out what his personal values were. So that led to a discussion about the benefits on being clear of what your values are, and that led me to this video. So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to get clear on your values. Let's get into it. If you're returning to this channel, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, I'm Teddy G. I'm a teacher turned entrepreneur, and I create videos that help you design a life of purpose. I'm passionate about health and routines and habits and thinking about how to live intentionally. I create videos that are easy to digest, and I try to always provide you actionable tools. This video will be no different, so if you find any value in this video, I would appreciate if you can subscribe to my channel or share this with a friend so that I can continue to make videos like this. When my friend and I were having this conversation about values, I felt like we both had this aha moment or this light bulb moment where we realized the true importance of knowing what your values are. Although my friend didn't have them written down, and I know that if he was intentional about sitting down and selecting values that align with who he is, then that he would benefit from that. As we were discussing this topic and the importance of values, we realized that a major theme that was emerging was alignment. Alignment is super important in this conversation because it represents the connection between your values and the decisions that you're making. It's helpful to think about our values as our inner compass. If we look at them in this way, then we can look to our values as a source of light, as a source of guidance, and to ensure that we're going in the direction that we want to go in. Simply stated, when you're clear on what your values are, then you can make decisions that align with who you are. Every day we are making decisions. Every day we're presented with opportunities. And if you're clear on your values, then when it comes time to make those decisions, you can ask yourself, does this align with who I am? Does this align with my values? If you're clear on them, it will be easier for you to make the decision. And each time you make that decision, it reinforces those values and that identity that you have and makes it easier for you over time. If you're less clear on them, you might find yourself in a gray area as opposed to a black and white area because you're unsure of what you really believe in or what you hold close to your heart. And you're not actually understanding if the decisions that you're making are aligning with those values or not aligning with those values. So to recap about why values actually matter and why you should sit down and get clear on your own values, it's simply to make sure that your inner compass guides you and informs your decisions. You don't want to be simply drifting or making reactive choices. Instead, you're making decisions and walking with a purpose and understanding that the decisions you're making are being done with intentionality. Moving right along, let's get into the good stuff. This is how you actually figure out what some of your values are. What I'd like you to do is to sit down, reflect, and think about some of the most impactful moments from your life. What are the moments that shaped you into the person you are today? Think about each of those moments and then think about how you felt in those moments and what you pulled from those experiences. I'll share 3 examples from my own life and then the values that I extracted from those experiences. The most important decision that I've ever made in my life was the decision to join the Peace Corps and then to move to a tiny village in Indonesia. I just graduated college and it was the biggest change that I'd ever experienced in my life, and it was a very drastic decision that I had made to leave the United States at 23 years old. I thought about that experience and why it was so impactful for me, and there were so many things that I pulled from that experience. And I thought about themes that came from it. One was exploration, one was trying out new things, another one was community because I lived with a host family and I interacted with a lot of Indonesians. One was learning because I was learning Indonesian in a new language. But when I think back to the experience and what was the most important for me and what I still carry with me today, it was 100% the community. Community is the value that I extracted from this experience because I was intentional about forming a good relationship with my host family, my neighbors, the people that also lived in my village, my other volunteer friends, and everyone that was around me in that part of my life. In that experience, I learned the importance of building community. I learned strategies that helped me to enlarge in my community. And it is something that I still really value to this day as I've lived in other countries and currently in Brazil. As soon as I move to a new country and I am alone and I don't know anyone, my first focus is how can I build community here? What are the things that I could do to make friends and create connections and truly understand this place that I'm going to call home? A second major experience from my life was when I decided to spend an entire summer doing a dive master certification. I was living in Mexico at the time and I traveled to Honduras. And normally I would be traveling for an entire summer. And so it was a little strange for me to just buy a ticket and decide to spend all of my time in one place. But I decided that it was important to commit to this one thing. Once again, I didn't know anyone and I didn't really know what to expect. I was a little nervous because I knew I was going to be diving every single day, that the dive shop had really high standards and so many other things. But as I thought about that experience, I realized that I had a huge transformation from the beginning when I showed up towards the end when I completed my certification and became a dive master. And the value that I was able to extract from this experience was simply growth. I'm a lifelong learner, as I like to call myself, and as you'll see me mention in a lot of these videos. I am a very curious person. I love to learn new things, try new things, and this experience represented growth for me because I had to step outside of my comfort zone, meet lots of people, do a lot of crazy things in the ocean, and really go beyond the limits that I was used to be able to become a dive master. If you know me, you'll know that this is an experience that I try to chase all the time, a new experience that I am a little intimidated by, an experience that I don't really know many people have done, and an experience where I feel like I can gain value from it. So I'm content with the fact that growth is the value that I extracted from this experience because I really felt like I learned a lot from this experience. And I continue to carry that mindset and that mentality as I continue forward exploring new things. Right up there with one of the most important decisions I've ever made in my life is the decision to stop drinking alcohol for an entire year. I've actually made a video about this, and so feel free to go check it out so you can learn about what I learned from that experience. But I enjoy thinking back to this experience because it was an unexpected one. I originally only wanted to stop drinking for 3 months, and then I played around with the idea of not drinking for an entire year. And I never could have imagined all of the lessons that I would have learned about alcohol and myself in general, and it changed my life completely. So, in thinking back to that experience, there are a lot of themes that come from that. One major theme is responsibility, another major theme is health, but I decided at the end of the day that the most important value that I could extract from this experience and that I still carry with me to this day is self-respect. So I had quite a complicated relationship with alcohol in the past, and I realized that for me to even be able to make the decision to stop drinking for an entire year and to be able to stick with it and to be disciplined, that showed me that I actually had a lot of respect for myself because I wanted to stick to the decision that I made. I wanted to commit. I wanted to feel the effects of not drinking. I wanted to really zoom out and understand what alcohol looks like from a different perspective. I wanted to experience what it felt like to go out and tell people that I didn't drink and to just experience how I felt in general. Through that time in the year that I didn't drink, I realized that I was actually a little bit disconnected from myself. And it was once I was able to reconnect with myself that I realized that I lost the joy in a lot of the things that I used to do. You may have heard of this term, the keystone habit, which is a habit that leads to other habits forming. This was a major change in my lifestyle and a new habit that led to other decisions that influenced my health, whether it was paying more attention to the types of things that I was putting in my body, paying attention to the types of workouts that I was doing, or any other thing. That was all inspired by this decision. And deep down, what that really had to do with was just respecting myself, respecting my body, and respecting my health. I think you'll enjoy an activity like this because all you're doing really is reflecting on the big moments in your life, which are obviously impactful for you and have shaped you into who you are today. And then you're analyzing them and extracting the important parts of those experiences and making sure that you don't let go of them and that they continue to guide you moving forward, like your inner compass, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video. So I highly encourage you, as you're doing this experience, to write them down. Write it on a journal, write it in your phone like I did, but make sure that you never lose sight of them. And now I'll explain what you can do with them. This is the important part once you've outlined what they are. Ask yourself, before you have to make an important decision, or if you find yourself at a crossroads, does this align with my values? If you can't remember what they are, pull them up, look at them, and then ask yourself, does this align with growth? Does this align with self-respect or responsibility or whatever value you might choose for yourself? If it doesn't, then you have your answer right there. If it does, then you can continue to move forward with the decision. It doesn't have to be rocket science and it doesn't have to be complicated, and it will be incredibly useful and beneficial to you to be clear on them as you move forward. It's actually a great feeling. A little bonus tip for you and something I'd like to share is that when I was having this conversation with my best friend and I pulled up my values, I actually hadn't looked at them in a while. I'm pretty clear on what they are in my head, so I didn't feel like I needed to look at them in my phone. But looking at them written down made me realize that actually it might be a good idea to revisit these and determine if they've changed or I can add any different ones. There's nothing wrong with changing them or revisiting them. And we are going to continue to go through life experiences and we might be shaped by those experiences and they might change. There's nothing wrong with that. And so it's actually useful to check in with them. Choose a time frame for yourself, maybe every 6 months, every year, 2 years, whatever. But that's a useful tip that you can use once you get started with this. I challenge you to do this activity and then let me know what your values are in the comments. I would love to see them and I'll respond to them. Thinking ahead and moving forward, this has a lot to do with forming habits and decisions and routines. And so if you're interested or inspired by any of these things, I conveniently made a video about how to form habits and I provide a simple explanation. Check it out right here in the link. Thank you for showing up and watching my videos, and I'll see you next week.